To whom shall we turn? Dr. Cristina Astorga's essay addresses the challenges and concerns surrounding leadership, governance, and social justice in the Philippines. Dr. Astorga, an academic and former chairperson of the theology department at 2 universities, expresses a deep commitment to truth, transparency, and transformation for her beloved country. She reflects on being encouraged to take a more active leadership role to unite the opposition, but reflecting on her calling as a professor of social ethics and moral theology, she would rather focus first on being a voice for truth and justice. The essay highlights the author's distress at the sufferings of the poor because of the misuse of public funds by many leaders due to corruption and the lack of effective checks and balances among the branches of government. Dr. Astorga questions the integrity of various institutions, particularly COMELEC, Congress, and the Supreme Court, and even the lack of integrity of some opposition leaders. She calls on different sectors of society, particularly the church, the educational institutions, and the youth, to play their respective roles vigorously in order to effect positive change. Despite the uncertainties and challenges, Dr. Astorga's message ultimately centers on the importance of courage, resilience, unity, and unwavering love for country. She acknowledges that the path ahead has many challenges, but she believes that the fight to reinstill positive Filipino values and to restore democracy is worth our fearless collective effort. Because, as Ninoy Aquino said, the Filipino is worth dying for. The essay ends on a note of love and unity among the people as they strive for a better future for the Philippines.
To whom shall we turn? I'm Dr. Cristina Astorga. I was a former professor and chairperson of the Theology Department of Ateneo de Manila University. I'm currently a professor of social ethics and moral theology and the former chair of the Theology Department of the University of Portland. I'm a member of GTAN, Global Transparency and Transformation Advocates Network, a group of Filipinos from around the world who have come together in a collective pursuit of truth, transparency, and transformation, spurred by their hopes for a brighter future for their beloved country, the Philippines. I am both ennobled and crestfallen by those who sent me messages asking me to consider running as president of the country. One asked me to seek the direction of the Spirit and that he would be praying for me. I'm ennobled by their faith in me, but I'm crestfallen over the fact that the nation is so bereft of leadership that they go to wherever they see even just a glimmer of it. To be president of our country is a sacred calling. As sacred as it is, however, it is not my calling. I am not a politician, I'm a professor. It's a calling and duty of my profession in social ethics and moral theology to be a strong voice in a struggle and fight for truth and justice. I am a Filipina at my very core. No change of place nor circumstance can extinguish my love for our country, our motherland. I weep to see our poor digging into basuras of Jollibee and McDonald to get half-finished hamburgers for their only food for the day. Pinapagpag na lang bago nila kinakain. How much more suffering can they take? Their poverty dehumanizes them. They have nothing of a decent human existence. This should not be their lot. This should not be the lot of any human being. I feel deep sadness and also profound outrage. The greed, avarice, and heartless indifference to the suffering of the many fill my soul with anger, especially at the leaders of the land who use their positions of power to wreak havoc on our national treasury to amass wealth for themselves. What belongs to all, for the common good, they appropriate it as their own. Pork barrel, they call it, or confidential funds. Funds that they can use without any accountability. While our national debt is soaring to the stratosphere, their confidential funds go by the billions. And they have nothing much to show but the ludicrous toothbrush project without any vision for the education of our children who are among those at the bottom in Asia in terms of educational proficiency or mere pledges of investments from multiple trips abroad where there's more money, our hard-earned taxes that flows out rather than flows in. There is no check and balance in the government, except for one or two and a few more. The opposition in the nation is moribund. It's practically dead. They have been demolished by systematic rigging of the election by the very institution that has sworn to protect it. With no checks and balances, the government is one big kabarkadahan, partying together and scratching each other's back when it comes to approving their pork barrels and confidential funds. This government, set up by Comelec, has no honor nor sovereignty. It's a fake creature of smart magic. To where do we turn? The Senate has been turned from a venerable august body into school bukul by senators like Robin Padilla, who combs his mustache rather than combs or examines the Constitution, the reform of which he heads, the Constitution which he perhaps never read, nor of which he has any knowledge, with only acting in movies as a bad boy as his background before he won as the number one senator of the land. Our political culture is damaged because people who are totally unqualified are voted to the highest positions in the land. Shall we turn to Congress, headed by Romualdez, the cousin of BBM, who's currently embroiled in the $1 billion Okada shenanigan, and assisted by the son of BBM, who is being groomed as the next in line to perpetuate the Marcos regime of plunder? Or shall we turn to the Supreme Court, supposedly the last citadel of justice, but which is suspected to be tainted and compromised by allegiances of some members to their benefactors or godfathers? Shall we turn to the military? Shall they put their allegiance to our flag and to our Constitution above their allegiance to authority, an authority that has no legitimate claim to power? Shall they withdraw their support for a commander-in-chief and president whose position is a subversion of the will of the people? Shall they stand with the people against the people in power in their fight for truth and justice? Or would they dishonor their pledge to God and country and capitulate to the lure of bribe money? Shall we turn to the opposition? But where are they? Didn't they validate the elections by their internal surveys? Even before the dust has settled, they immediately capitulated to their defeat, as if internal surveys were actual elections. Surveys are determined by variables, not by actual facts. In the 2016 US elections, Hillary topped all the surveys. Trump won. Now that it is indubitably clear, based on direct evidence, that the elections have been rigged, have they themselves legitimized a rigged election? They said that only after whistleblowers would actually come out would they join the fight. Is this not the calculation of traditional politicians and not the risk-taking courage of patriots? However, until the whistleblowers see them risking for the nation, willing to make the same sacrifice, they will not endanger their security and that of their families because there are no leaders to protect them. Thousands and millions of Filipinos stood for the opposition under heat and rain for long hours till late into the night because they saw in them women and men of integrity with true love for country as bearers of hope. Gobyernong tapat, lahat ay aangat, still echo in our collective heart. May this still become a reality under a government truly by and for the people as they envisioned it. We beseech the opposition to come out of their deafening silence and lead the people's fight for truth and justice, for God and for country. Shall we turn to the church leaders? Except for some bishops, like Bishop Bagaforo, the president of Caritas and the head of the Episcopal Commission on Social Justice, the CBCP as an institution is not yet leading the fight as the moral conscience of the nation. But I believe that their position is evolving. Tutumbok at tutumbok ang katotohanan. Some bishops, however, dismiss the expert findings of General Rio as only an opinion that anyone has a right to express. When has direct evidence of fraud based on the raw files posted by conscience-stricken and patriotic Comelec people on their website be only an opinion? Pope Francis says that religion must seek the expertise of science, as he himself sought the expertise of ecologists and climate change scientists for his encyclical Laudato Si. Information technology is science, and General Rio is a renowned expert with decades of professional experience. A true soldier and patriot, a man of unstinted integrity and fearless courage, he is relentlessly fighting with the arsenal of his scientific expertise. May our eminences follow the example of Pope Francis' respect and faith in science, and may they also heed his call. The Church must lead in our fight for truth and justice. Shall we turn to our colleges and universities? Are they instilling in our youth the ideals and values of our Filipino tradition, history, and culture, so that proud of their heritage they may aspire to be true patriots in the fight for truth, transparency, and justice, and in the creation of a just Filipino society that prioritizes the needs of the poor and marginalized? As the formators of our youth, they are the bedrock of the nation's future. But where are the colleges and universities at this perilous time in our history? And finally, shall we turn to our youth? But they seem to be nowhere. They were once the driving force behind the first quarter storm and the inspiring energy of the Pink Revolution, the groundswell movement of volunteer citizens that was never seen before in Philippine politics. Regrettably, the moment seems fleeting as their passion and spirit have waned. The elections have seemingly disheartened them, leading them to retreat into their own world, disconnected from the national concerns and affairs, leaving a void that only they can fill. Alas, for now, there seems to be no one to turn to but ourselves and each other, and in God who holds us together in love, a love that shall never fail us, for it's a love that stands at the origin of all that is and all that shall ever be. We, the people, are the final hope of our country. We call on especially our youth to join us at the battlefield, to be at the front line, for it is for them and for their future that old and weary folks, way into their 70s and 80s, are still with their battle boots on, fighting until the sun shall dim on them. Ordinary men and women with extraordinary hearts and spirit. How will all of this end? I do not know, and neither any of you know. We just put one foot in front of the other as we slug it out every day. Winning the war is no guarantee. We fight even when victory is not certain. But the only thing that is certain is the reason why we fight. The principles we believe in, the values we cherish, and the people we treasure and love. Yes, we fight, not because we are certain that we shall win, but win we must for our country. For this is worth living our life and dying our death. I wish I could tell you more, assure you more, tell you that all shall be well. But all that we have now is each other. And that's enough. That's enough. In the end, there are no words but love.